Then we'll do the joiner, the planer, the demos, stuff like that. And so, whenever you're given like the decimal form, like in your plans, your project plans, and if you're not to the point where you don't have them memorized and you want to convert them back to fractions, how would you end up doing that if you don't have them memorized? What? Yeah, Cody. Or Riley, sorry.
Yeah, because of fraction sheet.
Okay, you use a fraction sheet, or if you don't have that, how did we end up getting the fraction? Okay, so we ended up like this. If we had a half, we end up dividing. So if we want to convert it back, we're going to multiply. Now, what are we going to multiply by? Not by 1. Zach, don't worry about it. By 2. Okay. Not 1,000, guys. What is the smallest measurement we do in this class?
1/16.
A 16th. Okay, so you're going to multiply everything by 16. Okay, so if you take this by 16, you'd actually, not to the power, yeah, sorry. So the 16, what would you end up getting?
3/8. 6.
You'd get 6/16, right? Or if you end up multiplying this out, you'd end up getting the number 6, right? So that's going to be put over 16. So it's saying that you have 6/16, which reduces down to 3/8. Okay. Same thing. You end up taking 0.5 times by 16, which gives us what? 8. So it would give us 8, which is 8 over 16 or a half. Okay. And this last one here would end up giving you 14, which would be what? 7/8. Okay. All right. What we're gonna do today, like I said, is we're gonna do the demo for both the joiner and the planer. So that way Monday we can take the safety test for both of them, because you guys are to that point now where you guys have them cut to rough length and you'll actually start working on squaring up your board. What's the first dimension that we deal with? Rough length, okay, but what's final dimensions?
Finish.
So we have thickness, width, or length. Which one do we deal with first?
Thickness.
Thickness, right? Okay. Riley, could you grab the lights? All right. So I just want to show you in industry, what they have is basically one of the benefits again with wood is that it has the grain pattern with solid lumber. It's all the way through. It's also a downfall. When you're working with machinery, you have to pay attention to the grain because you have potential for a tear out. Now, what they do in industry is they actually have a giant belt sander. Okay, so it's just a big piece of sandpaper that's on a roll, and they end up sanding it down to thickness. Okay, then we'll talk about why they end up doing that. But I'm just going to go ahead and show this video. There's just background music. Okay, so this is it's a time saver, or it's called a wide belt sander. Okay. And all that is you have your in-feet table, and it ends up, you have your drums in here. It's a wide belt sander. Okay, so it's top and bottom. These are just the control panels. So same thing, this is telling you how thick your material is going to come out to be. Okay, so there's the other side of the out-feet table. So the brushes for actually cleaning it out once it comes off. So in this class, what we're going to be using is actual blades to take it down to thickness. Where on this, all they do is like I said, it's just a big sanding. It's just a big sanding drum, and they sand it down to the final thickness. Okay, so right here, I believe that the it's either, this is either the in-feed or the out-feed table. Looks like it's the out-feed table, but here you guys can actually see, this is the sandpaper or the sanding belt, and it has 2 rolls right there. So it bumps up in grit. So the first one is a little bit more aggressive. It gets it down to the finished size that it wants, and then it smooths it off as it goes. So it goes higher and higher grit, and they have 2 machines back to back. So it actually will come in here, sand that off, and it'll take it down to final thickness. Okay, so again, you can see those belts. So what this is doing, if you guys see that the drum is actually moving back and forth, so it's just a sensor right there that tells it to go, basically knocks it back into alignment, adjusts it. So here's a better view. See, it was just a big piece of sandpaper wrapped in a circle. That's all it was. Goes on those drums. Just change that. It only works on boards that have 8. Because so you can see that it's working. So here's the out-feed table, so it's going down, like I said, thickness, it's feeding into another machine. So again, that if you wanted to do this for an actual living, this is what you would actually be doing. You'd actually be operating the machine, so that's kind of where it is. The money is actually setting up the machine and programming it. Then it's just basic summer work. I had a buddy who worked at a cabinet making factory, and his summer job was basically just to rough cut material to length, and then stand at the end of the machine and flip it to the other one. Okay, so that's all. That's what it is. So the money in this, I guess, this field is in operating and setting up the machines or becoming a service repair person. All right, so. That's what they do in industry. Obviously, we don't have that machine here. You can get scaled down versions of one, but they're still kind of expensive. So what we end up doing is going back to the more traditional way. And that's what we have is a cutter head or a blade. Now, what we have, let's see. Here's our planer, okay? So this, is it running without the guards on? Here's the in-feed roller, so this is what's actually going to grab the material. The blade or the cutter head is located right here, and these are the gears, so it's all off of one motor, and you have this gear right here, gear and chain, is running the in-feed table, or the in-feed roller and the out-feed roller. Okay? All I really want you guys to know is that this upper part right here is the cutter head. Okay? Now, one of the things I'll talk about is the overall length, or the minimum length that you have for our material. Like our handles, we said could only, the handles are going to be 6 inches, but we can't plane material that's only 6 inches long. The reason being is because these 2 in-feed rollers are further than 6 inches apart. They're more like 10. So our the minimum length of our material that we can send through the planer is going to be 10 inches. Because otherwise, if it ends up rolling in here through the in-feed table and it hasn't gotten to the out-feed table yet, it's pretty much stuck in there. Okay? So the only way to shut it off is to get it out is to shut it off, wait for it to come to a complete stop, lower it, and then grab it out. Okay? And it's also a potential for a kickback. Okay? And you guys can see how fast it's spinning. So this again is the cutter head. You can see the in-feed table, or the in-feed roller again. Sorry, this is the table, in-feed roller. This lever here, if there's ever a point where it's not really grabbing your material, lifting it up will actually adjust the speed. So it'll cause the material, lifting it up causes the material to go in faster. So it changes the speed on the in-feed roller. Okay? You can just see how long it takes for it to wind down. Okay.
Why does Snickers do that, like,
It's like a visual effect. Like when on the car commercials, like when you see the tires, they look like they're spinning backwards just because it's spinning so fast. But here you can actually see, this is the blade. And all the blade is, there's 3 blades located on the cutter head, and it's just straight across. Now, one of the downside, okay, so that's like the basics. You're having these blades spinning at a high speed, and they're ending up taking off material at a certain length all the way, all the way across the board at once. Now, what is this?
Guillotine.
The guillotine, right? Why does it have this curve or this slant on the blade right there?
Look like head to the body.
Okay. Well, why can't I make it just straight? Yeah, it focuses on one point. It's easier to start at one instead of cutting it all off at once, right? Start with a little bit and go and work your way through. Okay. So that's the same principle that's behind these cutter heads here. We don't have one, obviously, like you just saw. It's the same principle. You can see on this one, they're actually twisted around, so it's taking off a little bit at a time, and these blades are lined up here, so that it's taking off the whole length, even though that there's little sections. What would be another benefit of having these square blades placed on there?
Easier maintenance because you'll even put square too. I don't know which one.
Yeah, if there's ever anything in the board, like if it's glued up, we're going to be doing some glue up if we didn't scrape off all the glue, or if there's some metal, or if something ends up damaging a blade. With the one with our planer, if we got a nick in our blade, which we do, you have to take in the whole blade and get that all sharpened. With this, all we can do is find out what row it's in, pop that off, and turn it 90 degrees, depending on the setup, either 180 or 90 degrees. Flip it back in to position, tighten it back down, and then keep on working. Whereas the one that we have to do, we have to end up taking off the blades, take them in to go get them sharpened, wait for them, set up the blades back up, do tests and everything like that. And with this one, one of the benefits, you can just pop it off, turn it 90 or 180 degrees, whatever it is, and then go back to work.
Why can't you just grab like one of those rolls and put it in? That one. Is there anything added?
On the sander, why can't I get like a belt sander?
No, like the one you have but like can't you just get like one of these rolls and? Like,
We could. But it basically comes down to money.
How much does those rollers tend to go?
These ones?
Yeah.
A couple thousand, depending on size. Setup.
Sounds pretty big.
Understand why.
Yeah.
Money is.
So, and it's only for us. It's only like $10 to get it sharpened. Those ones. So for the joiner, that was the machine that you guys were working on yesterday. We'll go out there, be able to identify the in-feed, out-feed table, the cutter head, the guard, the on-off switch, fence. These are some of the, I guess, guideline safety rules. It's pretty much the same thing as the planer. So the joiner and the planer are pretty much the same thing. We'll go about what they do. But these were some of the things that keep the material obviously tight against the fence, place the most stable side down, face joint, the material to remove cup warp, edge joint to remove bowl warp. We'll talk about the different types. The twist off, where the kickback zone is, how to place your fingers, what you should do, things like that. And body position. Same thing with the plane. You're going to need to identify the cutter head, in-feed table, thickness gauge, and thickness adjustment. What are I talked about, must be 10 inches long, at least. Check for loose knots. Okay, so again, we have those live and dead knots, stuff like that. Okay. All right, we'll go through that. You guys can grab your safety glasses. Or no, you don't need safety glasses. Just head out in the shop. We'll go over that.
Out there.
Because
Because of the.
it says right there.
It's